All right, let's talk Baltimore Ravens draft here, as the Ravens constantly do a lot of really smart things in the draft, have constantly just do a lot of really smart things in general. One of the more well-ran organizations in football, constantly making good decisions, but I didn't love every decision they made here, just like I'm never going to love every decision that any team makes in the draft, except for that Chiefs draft a couple years ago. Pretty much I'm going to have some things I like, some things I don't like. Let's start off with, just going chronologically. Did really like the Nate Wiggins selection. So, he went 30. He was projected to go 23rd. That's what those numbers mean. One on the left when they were drafted, next one over when they were projected to be drafted, and then name and position. Nate Wiggins, I really like Nate Wiggins. I think that, there were other corners that I liked a little bit more, but I think that he was certainly up there in terms of the, what he can do. The speed is electric. I do think that, the highlights can make you get really excited about him, but even if you watch his game film, you can get very excited about him. And, for the Ravens, who they really value the corner position, it's part of why they always have good defenses, is because that's what they pay attention to. They have guys, but adding, a couple more corners here, getting depth is always very important to them. And just, hey, having a guy who can move the way he can move, especially with, hey, if you're in the conference championship game against the Chiefs again, with some of their speedy receivers they added, you might need to get a speedy corner of your own. He is someone who can, definitely keep up with anybody. So you feel good about that. So that's a win. Then, we have some I don't want to say ones I just straight up disliked, but some ones I wasn't crazy about, certainly. Maybe some I was like, well, let's start off with Roger Rosengarten. Wouldn't have been my pick. Is someone who certainly has the athleticism to be an offensive lineman, but doesn't really have a ton of strength. Was very good 2 years ago, but last year did not have a great year in Washington. So this felt like a bit of a reach. Not to say he's an invaluable prospect or someone that you just straight up shouldn't even pay attention to, but I'm just surprised that he went when he did, especially with Baltimore. I get it. They need offensive line help. I understand it, but it felt like a bit of a reach for me personally. I just saw Isaac, though. It's a guy who, definitely someone who is a bit of a developmental guy. I think him and Rosengarten are guys you're hoping to be able to coach up in certain ways. But Isaac, it seems like, I've seen people suggest, like, well, maybe he could, like, add some weight. I don't know. He's 6'4", 250. For an edge rusher, I don't know how much bigger you want him to get. And I think he's explosive now. That's part of his selling point. I think he's a third down pass rush specialist, which is why he fell a little bit in the draft compared to what he was expected to go. Was supposed to be kind of a fringe second rounder, goes kind of more towards the end of the third round. But still, there's plenty of reason to like him, I would say. It's just I don't know if he's the complete. He's not a complete package, but should be a solid role player for them. So you like that. Then you have the Deontay Walker, wide receiver out of North Carolina, which is another kind of developmental guy. And this one I actually would be a lot more warm on than I think the last two. I didn't hate the last two, but this one I would say I'm just straight up a fan of. He's definitely, again, a developmental guy, but he is someone who can show the flashes. And if you can coach him up in Baltimore, there is real potential to get a star player, at least a really good player, perhaps, which would be nice to see if you're a Ravens fan. Again, someone that does not have a ton of production, but at the wide receiver position, that's kind of okay. For whatever reason, you see guys all the time not play great in college at the wide receiver position, but then be better in the NFL. It's a weird thing. Usually, I think there is a lot of coaching that goes into it, and a lot of situation, scheme, all of that stuff. So, just an interesting pick. For 113, I think I like it. And then 130, one of the real players who fell in this draft class was TJ Tampa. A lot of people were wondering, TJ Tampa, is he going to go as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan? I was thinking he has to go to the Bucs, right? Well, no, does not go to them. They pass on him a couple of times. The Ravens, who are so good with corners, I think we're all thinking, well, they got a hyped up corner. That's going to be good. There's reasons to dislike TJ Tampa. He's a bigger guy, but doesn't play totally physical, isn't the fastest, corner either. So I was lower on him than some other people were as well. So like when you see 50, I don't think he's, I don't know if he's that good, personally, but he did still make my top 10 corner rankings. There's still things to like about his game, and I think the Ravens can put him in a position to succeed and get the most out of him. It's hard to imagine him at pick 150 not ending up being a pretty good player. So definitely a little bit of a surprise here for me personally that he fell this far, but it might be a blessing in disguise getting to go play for Baltimore, who's going to put him in a position to succeed. For the next couple of picks, so first to get a running back, Rasheen Ali, who, just drafted him to be a depth guy. This was a bit of a weird pick for me at 195, going after someone like Ali, who is not the, I don't know exactly what to make of him. Adam Marshall, a running back who didn't exactly, I think, light the world on fire. If you watch his tape, which I checked out some of, didn't do a deep dive on, wasn't crazy about him. But I do think I can see why the Ravens feel like he could fit that scheme as a depth piece. I think he is someone who can, see the gap real quick, get through it, that kind of stuff. I think he could be an okay role player if he needs to be, but he's really just a depth guy. That's all you're doing there. Then Devin Leary, which was an interesting selection. So I missed Devin Leary during my draft evaluation. Somehow, I don't know why, because he's, projected to go 235. I guess that's why I didn't evaluate him, do a deep dive on him, but definitely an interesting piece is his athleticism in terms of like what he was able to like test and everything was all right. Usually the Ravens like to go out and get like Tyler Huntley, who is someone who kind of can do what maybe not exactly what Lamar can do, but like can kind of be a similar type player. They do have Josh Johnson. Maybe they just wanted to get another guy in the room, and maybe they feel like he can do that potentially. He certainly has good athletic testing, but wasn't really considered someone that was great once things broke down and stuff like that. Which sometimes for a backup you don't need that. We don't need you to do the other stuff. Can you just run an offense okay if you have to? Maybe that's what they're hoping for out of him. Kind of an interesting prospect there. We have Nick Samick, who was picked at 228, was projected to go undrafted. He was the 298th ranked prospect on the consensus big board. Definitely a developmental guy as well, which I think the Ravens, what this draft is showing is they're trusting their ability to develop. And you know what? Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world when they do have a history of developing pretty well. If you're good at player development, maybe you're more willing to take a chance on some of these guys who need some developing. Whereas if you aren't good at it, maybe you're like, just give me the better player, right? I usually have the mindset of just give me the better player. But if the Ravens are a team I do trust to be able to, develop these guys up. So maybe that's the case with Samick. And then Sanusi Kane, the safety who was selected 250, was, the 397th rated prospect, but again, when we're in pick 250, I'm whatever. Going through what he can do. Is someone who essentially was kind of considered a box safety, and I almost wonder if they even consider him at like a linebacker, but he's only 5'11", 200 pounds, so you can't really do that. Kind of struggled in coverage, but does have some traits. The Ravens are very much a team that likes to say, don't ask me what you can, I don't want to know what you can't do. It's like that famous Bill Belichick quote. Like, I don't care what the guys can't do. What can they do? Let me know what they can do, and I'll put them in positions to succeed. The Ravens have a very similar mindset, and I'm sure they'll figure out a way to, even if it's just a depth role, find a way to get him to contribute, and also might be a good special teams guy as well. So you got that going for you. So yeah, that's the Ravens draft. An interesting one. Didn't love every selection, but I got the logic behind all of them, and has certainly the potential to be a very, a lot of these guys have sky high potential. You could have, I don't know, there's a decent amount, a handful of these guys have Pro Bowl level potential. The question is just, will they get there? But yeah, interesting draft. Those are my thoughts on their picks. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.